a visual impairment. And
Mm-hmm.
he sent me back a whole list of stuff that I was able to
Oh,
send
that's
to her,
fantastic. That's
you
awesome. What a
know?
great story.
Um, and so it's like, with to me, with help on social, you build a relationship with these people and they may
That's
go
awesome.
away and then all of a sudden they pop up, and then
That's
they
awesome.
start following you, and it's just really, it's really neat. And my major disappointment with it is that the powers that be, I don't think don't give it enough credit for those of us who are on there who are helping.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you look at Bento, there's no way to calculate how somebody who's helping on Help on Social is helping.
Right.
If you're on Help on Social, you have
But it's good. Don't have to do that fancy of a thing.
Exactly.
Plus you have those libraries where there's already presets in there that you can use and just, even if it's just changing the color to match your logo or something like that.
The only tool you have is albums. Now, a photo can be in multiple albums. So, well, but there's no grouping within an album. However, you can drag them around.
You can sort them kind of thing.
Minimize the order, but there's no tagging within an album. Okay.
Definitely some room for improvement in there.
There's lots of room.
Hello and good evening, everybody. How is everyone tonight? Talking about a subject that I absolutely love. I just love and use this all the time, Google Assistant. Okay, we're going to talk about that tonight. Brought my good friend in that I say good friend, but we met like at the last show and we've been at the last summit and everything. And I tell you what, I've had you on and it was so awesome last time. I got great response. So I want to say hello to Randall. How are you, Randall?
Hey, how are you, Michael?
I'm well. So glad you came on to talk about this. This is so
Sure.
cool. I tell you, if you have as much fun as I do, because I do, I like to try and find stuff or challenge myself to stuff or try new things because there's so many different things out there that you can try. You know what I'm saying? To see if the assistant's going to learn or know, and that's what. I mean, that's where I have fun with it, but it's so cool. And just having all the appliances and stuff like that. But we're talking about kind of assistant on mobile and that kind of stuff, more or less. We'll talk about it on home as well. And you were on the show last time, which was great to go over some of that stuff. But talk about it a little bit. Talk about it a little bit with me.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that the assistant showed up long before the Google Homes.
Good point.
And the Minis and the Macs. So the wonderful thing about it is that you've seen its growth over time. It's gotten to the point where it's been able to do so many more things. It used to just be able to, unlock your phone and, perhaps answer a call or tell you have. But now, the only thing I think it can't do is like make dinner for you. So it's
funny.
It's matured. But,
right.
I think one of the things that people don't realize is that Google Assistant on your phone is very, very different. Well, not very, very different, but it is your Google Assistant on your home devices don't have the same capabilities that you have on your portable phone.
Right.
So
and more, I think they're adding more and more. I mean, they're trying to add more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're trying.
But a lot of people are, it's how come my home can't tell me my text messages, but your phone can? So that's, it's got some capabilities that are, unique to it, which makes it fun because it's very portable.
Exactly. I'm showing them the website right now. Here's assistant.google.com.
Right.
And this is where it's talking about that and really showing you all the devices like in your vehicle, on your mobile, there's so many things like that they're trying to get assistant on everything. I mean, I saw in the help forum, I was answering a question the other day about their washer. They actually had they had a question.
Yeah, I mean, there's everything has grown exponentially as this has gotten older and older. The Google has gotten more partners. It's grown in capabilities. It's really a little feature packed assistant in the palm of your hand. And and I can tell you, I don't use probably a tenth of all the stuff that it can do. And you can, there are functions that you can download and activate. Like I think there's one that's called Get Milk. Or shopping lists.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my goodness, that's too much. I can't deal with it. And as I said the last time we were on, I use it to turn the heat up and to, play my music or whatever. I'm not really, I don't even use it to turn the TV on. I haven't gotten that lazy yet.
Really?
So I just don't.
I do.
Yeah,
I actually do that.
It's like, I grew up being the TV remote, watching TV with the family, and they'd say, get up and change the channel. And so I'm used to doing it kind of sort of the old fashioned way.
One thing is convenient that I find that I can come downstairs and I try to walk every day. I have an elliptical. And I come downstairs and I give the command and say, start my walk. So I do a routine. And what happens is
Right.
it turns on the basement TV to Netflix to a specific channel that I want. And I just sit there and go, and I just go, it just starts up, which I think is very convenient, but I certainly could go over and and turn it on myself or whatever. But I think
Right.
I don't know. It's fun to do that kind of stuff.
You know what? I get that. That's sort of my routine in the morning. I get up, and before I take the dogs out, the first thing I say is, "Hey,
right.
news." And I have all these
Nice.
news program channels all set up,
I love
and
that.
they play for probably 3 or 4 hours because I'm retired, so I'm sitting at home.
I love that.
And so they play, and I get my nightly business report. I get NPR. I get the daily podcast from the New York Times. I get my local news brief or the weather, and then I get my appointments for the day because
Yes.
I do, I may not be working for pay, but I do volunteer a lot in my community. So I have meetings, 2 or 3 times a day for various things that I have to deal with.
That's
so the
awesome.
assistant comes in very, very handy with a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, it also babysits my pets when I'm away.
There you go. There you go.
I turn music on and I let them go.
Let me recognize some of the people out there. We got Flashing Your Pans out there. How are you, sir? Andrew Hatchett's out there. Richard Clarkson, Zara Altair. We have Mike, which is NLTMW. And then we have Eddie, Patty Broussard. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it so far. Eddie says, I love this. He says, Amazon and Google are going to take over the world. You know what? I think taking over the world, if you think about, here's the way I look at that. Okay. Some people say that about Assistant, that it's, it's going to, oh my gosh, it's doing all this kind of stuff. But I think that if you think about from the 1900s to even the 1950s, they felt the same way about things and technology and things like that. Say, hey, that technology from that point forward, oh my gosh, there's a phone. How do we know they're not listening in your house on a regular phone? You know what I'm saying? All this kind of stuff, all these same thoughts, we don't realize it. But I read a really great article, and I wish I could find it now. But how they feel like they were being invaded on in their privacy and stuff like that, or a bank. The bank knew so much information about you because they had to have so much information to verify it was you. All these same things, the fears are still the same as they were back then, it's just very different and in your face now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and I wanted to also mention Patty Broussard. How are you, young lady? She said, we love our Google for playing music the most. You know what? I totally agree with that. I think that is one of the best things. If you want to go to sleep to some background music or whatever, we have those kind of settings and things like that. So I wanted to throw those two things up from comments from the fans out there, for the folks out there.
Well, as I was telling you before we went to broadcast, I'm pretty much technology agnostic. And so I've had, for example, the Amazon device since 2013. I got it when it was in beta, and they were giving Prime customers the ability to have it, and it was pretty dumb when I first got it. I mean, it could do a little bit of things, but it over time and very quickly it learned. Well, not learned, but they programmed it, and they
They
added
got more
skills
information,
to it.
more information,
and you got more information from it. And now, for example, because I don't perhaps enjoy the implementation of the lists that are used for, I don't really like having to bark it to the device and then having to open another application in order to get to my list, as opposed to it being housed in the home app.
Right.
So, for example, in those instances, for me, that's basically what I use my Alexa for. It is the thing that I bark at in the kitchen to do my grocery list, because then I open the app and it's all there and I can tick it off. And then, but everything else is all the Google related items.
Right,
I mean, my
right.
music, my Nest, my lights, all of those things are managed and run by Google. But, so each of the devices has a little bit of head start on the other.
Right.
And, you adapt to things, and you use them for what they're best suited for. And for me, the Amazon device is really good for grocery shopping for me.
Right.
My Google device is 99% of everything else.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that, I don't know about taking over the world. I mean, we've got, everybody's trying to get into that. I mean, Samsung has Bixby,
Right.
which may not, I don't use a Samsung phone, so I can't really say how well it works. But before all of that happened, I think, wasn't Siri around kicking the tires? And,
I think it was.
So, so I mean, you have a lot of these things that have existed.
And Cortana for Windows.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so, I think a lot of this technology is being done in such a way that it's perhaps trying to figure out the saturation point, or what the tolerance level might be for users, depending on, to see how far they can go before you get a backlash on it. And that just could be my paranoia, but I think, people are there. I think they're being very measured with how they do these things. And of course, I don't know, because I don't work for them. So I'm just guessing. But it's useful stuff, but I think they're being measured as to what capabilities they want to give them so that people remain comfortable with them, if that's the right term.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And the thing is, I don't want to just have a gadget to have a gadget. I want something that's going to help me be more productive. And I think stuff like the broadcast feature, I absolutely love that. We used to have a little intercom system from upstairs to downstairs when we had kids. So we could tell them things like come to dinner and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is built in now.
Right.
And I love the fact that I can broadcast from my cell phone to my house and tell the wife, say, I'm on my way home. Can I, do we need anything? Can I pick something up for dinner or whatever it is? I love that. I love that ability to be able to do that kind of stuff. So to me, there are benefits that are productive, and there are some benefits that are just fun. I love both, though.
Well, and I don't, you probably already know this, but the recipient of your broadcast can now respond to you. That used to not be the case. Did you know that?
I did not know that came out. No,
I believe you can now, if you broadcast from your
phone,
car, and you have the ability to answer
very nice.
With your device that's in your home, unless I stumbled on something that was supposed to be a secret.
I did not know
now
that.
Everybody will run out and try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be trying that. But no, that's awesome. That's great. Stuff like that, things that are, I mean, I love certain things too. Like when I'm watching a show, I can just ask Google to help me out with that. I love those kind of things. Hey, who's the star in this? Or who, what other movies were they in? That kind of I love being able to do that kind of stuff. Not really productivity, but it's neat to be able to have that answer that you can do, or get if you want it.
Yeah. The goal here these days is information at your fingertips. And that's basically what it boils down to. I mean, the fact that you can take your phone and have it almost do instant translation for you when you're in a foreign country.
Yes.
And I plan on trying that out because I'm going to be in Paris in May. So,
awesome. Good for you. Yay.
Well, I'm hoping I can get out of there alive. As bad as my French is, they may lock me up.
Well, that's why you have your translate so you'll be able to use it.
Right, for killing the language.
That's funny.
So,
No,
you know,
that's
but
good
I mean,
though.
so there are lots of the most fascinating thing for me is the growth that I've seen
Yeah.
and the different abilities that have managed to show up
Yep.
on all of these devices in the assistant. You
Yeah.
know, it
Exactly.
was pretty basic when it first started, and it was like, oh wow, this is cool. And it wasn't even the first. I'm trying to think, and I know we were talking before broadcast about my first Android phone coming from an iPhone, where it was the Moto X, and whatever Moto had something on it that I was able to talk to,
Right.
and I thought it was like really pretty neat, although it was like sort of before its time. So
Very
I kind of
raw.
felt weird,
Very raw. Yeah.
like talking to my phone when nobody else was really talking to their phone. So now I kind of feel comfortable, and I don't think it's weird because everybody else is doing it. So it's fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one thing that I think that helps, it does help socially. Like they talk about social networks and all this kind of stuff and everything, and how, to me, I'll be honest with you, some of the social networks that are out there are antisocial, because we're sitting here looking into our phone instead of doing something else. To me, what Assistant helps with is to take that away, where you talk to a device and then the device helps you interact or play a game or tell a joke, or like when my granddaughter was over, okay, that my son was able to say, hey, play a gummy bear. The Gummy Bear song, and it played it, and oh my God, that thing! I still know that, and I wish that I never would have learned that, because she danced and everything. It was so cute and so awesome. But the 100th time, I was like, oh my God, please stop. But anyway,
well, we'll have to get you the Barney song and Frozen. Those should really fuck your last two nerves.
But it's cool to be able to do that. It's cool to be able to bring that up and do that, because that's what she does at her daycare, and we were able to do that. And I actually have a subscription to YouTube Red, so I was able to have Google Play Music along with it, so I can pull up all this stuff. Really, really awesome that they blend and keep features together. I think that's a big deal. Well,
in bridging the gap in the communication, I think we were just talking about, the ability to, translate and use other languages.
Yes.
I mean, it enables people to communicate.
Yeah, good point.
When they otherwise can't.
Me.
I mean, I live in New York City, so it's it's very, very international. So you get a lot of different people from a lot of different places. And, New York can be overwhelming. And so it provides the ability for, a visitor in the city to ask somebody who lives here who doesn't speak, say, Chinese or whatever, and ask a question and get an answer. And then they can go on about their way and find their way wherever they are. So, I mean, it's really neat. I mean, I think these capabilities can be helpful if used properly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
The other thing is really cool too, that they've added pretty much into the assistant part of it too, is, especially on your phone, is the Google Lens part of it. I don't know how much you use that. I know I do.
I've used it a bit, and as we were talking about visiting in foreign countries, I believe, the ability to use Lens and hold it up to a sign so that exactly what, like if it says, you're going to be shot if you walk through this gate, not to walk through the gate. I mean, it's very, very helpful. Very, very helpful.
Well, and I think the other thing that's really cool is
codes and things and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it, because you can take your phone and over the menu, and it gives you the English version on your phone as you're going over the words in that. I mean, that's just crazy how cool that is.
Yeah.
That's so cool how that does that.
Yeah, it's having a mini computer on your phone with you 24/7.
Yeah, but again, productive and helpful. I mean, those are the kind of things. I think also when we talk about mobile or auto, when you're in your car, I think Assistant becomes even more important because now you can use it with maps and, you know, getting navigation to certain places and things like that. It's more of a safety. It becomes helpful, not only productive, but safety as well.
Right. Right. I mean, it'll help you, I'm hungry, and you could say that, and then it will find places near you to eat. You don't even have to be specific. You could just probably say, I'm hungry, and it'll,
just so awesome.
Nearby. I want coffee, and boom, you got a Starbucks here, you got, and here's where you are, and this is where it's the Assistant is a pretty powerful little program. And from the geeky side, for anybody who's interested in that, it lives within the Google app. Which is a question that we get very frequently when people are wondering how to fix it, or it doesn't work right, or something's going
exactly
wonky. It is part of the Google app. So whenever you have problems, clear the cache in the Google app, and it'll probably fix the Assistant.
That's true.
Just had to throw that in, being the PE.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So people that have a device like a hub or a home or whatever device they have, what would you say versus like your telephone? I'm not going to ask you to list what one thing has and what one thing doesn't. What do you think is, because all those things you have to set up through your phone anyway. So the app's on your phone or a device, excuse me, any Android device.
You could set it up on an iPad. You could set it up on an iPhone after you download the app, or it's sort of baked into everything when you use a pure Android phone or an Android phone in general.
Exactly. So you being one that uses everything on an iDevice or an iPhone, like for example, my wife has an iPhone, but she does not use Assistant on it. Is that a downloaded app? Just download Home and do that? Is that basically it?
Yeah, it should be in your what is it, the App Store? I think it's the App Store on the phone, because it used to be everything was iTunes, and then they had the app section, but now I think they've split it out.
I think you're right.
So it's in the App Store, because you're going to need it if you have a physical home device in your home,
right? To set it up,
you're gonna need that in order to install the Home app, and then you need the Assistant, and then you need to set it up, and then you need to do the voice match. So all of those things can be downloaded to your phone if it is not already baked in.
Right, gotcha. One thing that I really like is calendar stuff, because I use my calendar fairly religiously, and obviously I have Google Calendar. I don't have like an Outlook calendar and stuff. I don't think it would work with any of those. I think it has to work with a Google Calendar. So that there are limitations to what some of the things can do, just because there's no app for that to go and get that information and that kind of thing, I believe. And I think I'm saying that
you
right.
Can, if you have the home, I think if you have personal information, let me take a look. I think because
I think like Outlook, I don't think it has where you can access your calendar in Outlook or whatever and that kind of stuff. I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
There's other things like that some of it, if you use other things and use other products, it may not be compatible, is all I'm saying. Because when these shows go out, it goes out to everybody, and they may not have some of the same stuff. So I like to always verify and just make sure that everybody understands that before hey, you said this, and
Well, I can tell you, since you brought the calendar up, again, being agnostic with technology that I am, most of my stuff, I've migrated from iPhone to Android, but, I've got 2 iPads. I'm talking to you now on a MacBook Pro. I've got an iMac computer.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is pretty much Mac centric for me in the home. So there was some adjustment that needed to be made
Right.
for that. And one of the adjustments that I've had to make is how Google handles calendars versus the way Mac handles calendars. And it's been a frustration for me because, on an Apple device, you can have home, work, play, and they're all individual different calendars all within one calendar. And in Google, they're just categories. They're not actual separate calendars. So I found that to be kind of weird. So that if I talk to my device, if I put something in my home on my computer and I put it in my home category, it may not show up
Interesting.
on my phone.
Interesting.
There are all day appointments that don't necessarily show up for certain things. Comparing Google to Amazon, I think, has a better implementation for calendar functions because you can actually choose the calendars that you use no matter where they are, and they show up and they call everything. They pull everything together for you.
Wow.
So I think that's a leg up other than the shopping.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's hard to
that's-
explain because I'm not an expert with Google Calendar. I'm probably better versed at using the Mac calendar, but it is a frustration for me. But it's gotten better because some of the things are now showing up. I don't know how I get them there, which is kind of a problem if I don't know how I'm doing
Right.
it, but it's there, so I don't complain and I leave it be. So
Very
maybe I'll have
interesting.
to get with a calendar PE and talk to them about it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I really like it too, and I'm sure both systems have that, but one thing that I really like about the Assistant too is the voice, being able to do things by your voice, your specific voice, and it knows and picks that up. I think that's a big thing. Even with your phone, just there's a little bit of security there,
Yeah, the voice match. Now, I believe, and I read this a couple of days ago, that they may have changed the implementation for the voice match and security on the phone. And I can't remember where I read it, but I thought that there was some update to the Assistant will enable you to bark commands at your phone, but it will not fully unlock your phone. It'll give you your results, but it will not
Yeah, I did hear that as well. Just for
unlock the
security
phone.
purposes, I think they changed
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was a security thing that they were. Yeah,
And I haven't really investigated it a lot because I don't, I very rarely talk to my phone for those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I will. You know what? The young lady who was saying they use it most for music, I think that's probably how I use the Assistant on my phone the most. Identify this song.
Yep.
What's playing? Who is this?
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's really quick and easy. Because if you hear something and it's like gone in a second and you want to know, and then I go find it on Google Play.
You know what I do quite often? I mean, I do this all the time now because it used to be where I'd have to go through and find, I have so many apps on my phone. Now I just ask Google to open that app, open Hangouts or open Bitmoji or open whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it'll at least open up the app so I don't have to go. So I mean, it's making me lazy.
Well, we were talking about that earlier too, the old-fashioned way with the remote control and so on and so forth. And sometimes I forget that those things are there. Like I can ask it to read, a text message, and you're just in this habit of just picking up the phone when you get a notification to look at it. Yeah. When it's like, hey, I can keep, my hands are in dough and I can ask it to, hey, what's my text message, or what's my last message, or what?
Yeah, you can
what
ask.
can I
You can
put?
ask it your last 5 text messages, and it'll
Yeah.
start to read them and say, "Do you want to respond, or do you want to go on to the next one?" I mean, I love that. I love
Exactly.
that ability to be able to
Exactly.
do that.
And it works very, very well if you've got Android Auto. I
Oh,
don't know
really?
if you've seen that. Android Auto, when you can set Android Auto up to automatically start when you get in the car. Like when I get in the car and it connects to the Bluetooth, Android
Mhm.
Auto automatically starts up. And if I get a text message, I can tell it to read it out, and then the assistant will say, "Do you want to reply?" And
Nice.
if you say yes, it'll say, "What is your message?" or whatever it
Yeah,
is, and
yeah.
you say it, and then after you finish, it'll repeat it, and it'll say, "Do you want to send, or do you want to, redo it?" And if you say send, off it goes.
I love it.
And
I love that.
that's,
I love that
all
ability.
hands free, right in the car, and you don't even have to take your eyes off the road.
Exactly. Well, anything for that. I mean, like I was talking about before, directions, or like you said, food nearby, or I'm hungry or something like that, or
Right.
or weather even. Hey,
Yeah.
what's this and that kind of stuff. I just like the fact, like, I know one thing that the device does not give you that I like, that like the Google Home gives you, is conversation. It doesn't give you the follow up and keep going. You have to say
Right.
you have to say the command each time on the phone, which
Right.
I get used to that at home. I'm doing conversation here.
Yeah. Right.
Then I'll turn around and
Yeah.
go over there. I'm like, oh darn, I can't do that here. So I have to remember that.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
actually like that. I like to have that ability to be able to ask multiple questions about certain things. I do it all
Well,
the time.
the phone, the assistant on the phone is very similar to the assistant on the hub. The hub doesn't have continuing conversation
Oh, really? I didn't know
just
that.
yet. I don't know if it's coming. It may be coming. It may not. I don't know. But continue. If you look in the settings on your phone, you'll see that continuing conversation is not one of the options for the Google Hub device.
I was actually thinking the only reason that I won't buy a hub because it doesn't have a camera.
Right.
That's the only
Right.
reason I won't buy one. But if it was given to me or part of a package deal, I would. I mean, I would take it. I mean, it's no problem.
Yeah.
But to me, because that's if I'm going to have this small of a device, like an iPad-sized device or whatever, which is kind of what it is with the speaker. I want to have that camera. So if I can have that conversation with somebody, or take a call or something like that, I want to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that it doesn't have a camera, I think it was Google's privacy issues, and I think they were very, very trying to be very, very conscious about that. And I said the same thing, but here I sit with one to the right of me. And how I use it. It is, I have YouTube TV.
Uh-huh. Oh, do you really?
Yeah. So, oddly enough, it is not baked into the hub.
Oh, wow. That's
so
strange.
I have to cast it.
That's crazy.
So I'm able to, instead of having a ginormous TV, not a ginormous TV.
I know what you're saying.
But,
I know what you're saying.
I mean, I can watch the cooking shows and, when I'm not burning the food. And I can cast Hulu to it. You can't cast Netflix to it, and maybe that will come too.
That's odd.
But yeah, it doesn't have a camera, and maybe if enough people send feedback, they'll put a camera on it.
Yeah, I mean, I could just see
Google is at its own speed. You know that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do with my Pixel Book is I'll angle it up and use that camera that's on there with, the videos. That's what I do now with my Pixel Book. Yeah. Make video calls.
Well, speaking of the Pixel Book, and I don't have a Pixel Book, is the assistant on the Pixel Book too?
Yes, built right in.
And how does that work?
It's incredible. You can do almost anything and everything. Actually, you can. I mean, it'll do anything and everything. It's just like your phone.
Yeah.
because it's
So
using
you
that
could
app.
compose. So, for example, you could go into Google Docs and compose, dictate
Yes.
say a memo or whatever,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it will. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And Google Keep do the same thing. You can do the same kind of stuff because you can do an audio Google Keep thing. Yeah, I mean
Right.
everything. Yeah, and the pen that comes with it is absolutely amazing because it's all assistant. So you can circle things on the page and it'll search information on that thing that you just circled. I mean, it's really incredible. I mean, it's amazing
Yeah.
what it'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So see, I don't have that's one Google device I
Device.
don't have, which is the Pixelbook or the Chromebook.
Mhm.
And I keep looking at it, and it's like, oh my God, if I get one, what am I going to do with? I mean,
Well, you'd be surprised because I used to because I still have a laptop and I got a Pixelbook and because of the assistant built in. That's one reason why I loved Allo. I know Allo's going away. They got all kinds of stuff going away, but I loved Allo because Assistant was built right into the messaging app, which I thought was
Right.
amazing. It was just so cool because we could be talking about things in conversation. I talked about this before. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it had the assistant, well, we're talking about assistant. So the assistant
Right.
built in was awesome because if my son and I were texting, hey, I know you guys are coming. Have you eaten? No, I haven't. And then I can have assistant help me. Where do you want to go? Here's a couple places on your way in. We can meet you there or whatever on your way in, that kind of thing. Or I could do things like if we're talking about, we're talking about our football teams or whatever. And he says, hey, what are the Packers doing? He could put it right in assistant and it'll tell us like the schedule and give us all this information. I love that. I just thought that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Built right into your text messaging. So I heard that assistant is going into Google Messages. I heard that that's going in there now.
That would be really, 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 really cool. I wonder if that's a function of, aren't they sort of phasing out the Hangouts and Allo and all of those?
Yeah, they're
things?
phasing out Allo for sure.
Hangouts has moved more to like
Chat,
business kind of stuff, right?
Well, Hangouts has moved. They haven't totally gotten rid of the consumer Hangouts, and I don't think that it's. I mean, nobody will say.
Right.
I think what it's going to do is to move to Hangouts Chat, so there's only one app. Instead of having
Gotcha.
Hangouts and Chat, because they have Chat for business and they have Meet for business, which is
Right.
they split up Hangouts basically into meetings with video and chat with a chat. So
Gotcha.
I think there'll be consumer versions. I think who knows what Google does? They only
Right.
know, but we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I think they're trying to make Google Messages or Android Messages or whatever that is. I think they're trying to get that to be their messaging service, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that would be cool if the Google keyboard, you could go in and you can click
Yes.
it and talk at it. But I think you can with messages tell it to text something now, right?
Yes, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know
I'll
Allo
have to test it.
Allo
I'll
will
have to
help. By adding assistant, Allo will help. I mean, I'm not Allo, but adding the Allo functionality of assistant to messages will be perfect.
Right.
That might sway me. There's a couple features that it doesn't do that I use Textra right now. Like future.
I use that. Yeah, I use
future
that.
text. I use future text all the time.
Yeah, I like Textra when I did use it.
Yeah.
I used to use that before messages. I just thought it was a better app.
Yeah.
It had a lot more granular control
Mm-hmm.
to it. But that's another conversation.
It is a whole nother
day.
conversation, yeah. But assistant, let's wrap up right here, and I'll invite some community members in real quick after the show. Folks, thank you so much, everyone that showed up and came in and talked to us about assistant or learned a little. Hope you learned a little bit about assistant. We certainly didn't cover every feature or anything like that. There's a lot of things that you can do with the assistant that is very helpful, useful, and productive. Can make you very productive. And I think that if you take the chance and the time to go check it out, I think that you will see that there are benefits to having it. I know people are scared sometimes. Oh my gosh, I don't want to have a device and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's kind of like my mom never wanted to go to online banking a long time ago. And I said, look, they already know everything about you. What do you really think that they're going to get? It's not, So anyway,
I'll have to sit with your mom because I felt the same way. It was like, why would I do this electronically?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I'm handing it to a person,
right? Exactly,
and that I get a receipt for my,
That's
it's like now I don't even think about it. I just don't.
And she's made the move. She's made the move since, but I mean, it took her a long time to because it is a trust thing. It is a trust thing, and it's kind of the way we started this thing off when Eddie said, they're taking over the world or whatever.
Yeah, we've come full circle. It's back to people's comfort level with all of this new technology. And I think those people who are behind it will keep going to see how far they can push it until the comfort level becomes not good.
Right.
And then they'll know where to stop.
Yep.
And I don't think we've gotten to the stopping point yet.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
The only thing I probably wouldn't be comfortable with is having assistant drive my car. I think that's that might be my limit. I don't I have a it's a if I'm in some machine that large, I want to I can let go with somebody in an airplane, I trust you, but if I'm on the road, I need to be able to make sure that I can be a defensive person when behind the wheel because you don't know what somebody else is going to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
I think if and that's a great point. I think if everyone was in a car where it was controlled, then that'd be fine. But as long as someone else has a manual vehicle and I don't, that's the fear there. So exactly. I get that. All right, folks, listen, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so very much for coming on. I really, really do appreciate it. Maybe we can come on and chat again. I love having these conversations because it opens and it provokes things for people to think about and that kind of thing and know that there's stuff like this out there. Maybe we'll talk about some of the other stuff. Maybe we'll talk about it's not just Google or whatever. We can talk Alexa stuff or whatever, anything.
Sure.
We can talk about different things or go into texture or go into some of these other things or whatever. We can do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking time out. Community members, you will see a link in the Discord channel that we have in the community. I will send that out. Thank you again, Randall. And folks, listen, if you want to become a community member, feel free to jump in. It's $10 a month. Just try it, see if you like it. We do daily tips. We have workshops. We do all kinds of stuff. And we have good conversation about stuff like this, technology, always talking. So if you're interested, come join. See what it's all about. We just making our move since Google Plus is going away. We're moving to Discord. So if you want to come over there, we can teach you about that and show you about that. So if you're interested, feel free to join. Thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate everyone. And if you have any more comments, please leave a comment in the video afterward. And I'm sure I'll reach out to Randall and have him give you a chat and he can respond to you if you have any other questions. Thank you very much. And we do appreciate you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.